Hey everyone. Well, welcome to the first of a new kind of videos that I'm going to start making today. August the 10th, 2025. I'm calling these videos Tiger of the Day for the baseball season. Well, while the baseball season's on. I had the idea to do this in a way somewhat like a radio host that I heard when I was a kid on the radio named Paul Harvey, who used to do a thing called The Rest of the Story. And I thought I'd like to tell some stories about some of my favorite players from the history of my favorite baseball team, the Detroit Tigers. And so today is the first one of those. And there were a few choices from what I had to pick from today as far as Tiger of the Day goes for August the 10th. There were 65 former Major League players who were born on this day, August the 10th, and 8 of those played for the Tigers at one time or another. And the one that I chose to talk about is the one who played the longest in his career overall, not necessarily for the Tigers, but had the longest baseball career of those 8. But I'm not going to tell you, like I do on the singing videos, the subject of this video until it's over, till the end. And I'm going to do this in the first person, as if I am the person that I'm talking about. So here we go. Well, I was born on August the 10th, 1933 in New York City, in the Bronx. I was a big fan of the New York Yankees as a kid, especially Joe DiMaggio, the Yankee Clipper. At age 16, I dropped out of Theodore Roosevelt High School to play semi-pro baseball. So shortly after that, the Cleveland Indians took some interest in me, especially because I had a strong throwing arm, and a scout named Mike McNally signed me as an undrafted free agent, an amateur free agent, on January the 1st, 1951. I was, 17? So I entered pro baseball later that year, in 1951, in the Cleveland organization at Class D, Daytona Beach, for the Daytona Beach Islanders in the Florida State League, where I hit .275, got off to a pretty good start, hit 23 home runs and 111 RBIs in 140 games. So I had good power, drove in a lot of runs. The next year, 1952, I split the season between Class B Spartanburg Peaches in South Carolina of the Tri-State League and Cedar Rapids Indians in Iowa of the Illinois-Indiana-Iowa League, also known as the 3I League. This year I had a struggle. I only hit .228, but I did have power. I hit 19 homers and 55 RBIs in only 98 games that year. Next year I moved up another level to Class A with the Reading, Pennsylvania Indians of the Eastern League. And here I really started hitting with power and back to my average. Hit .271 with 28 home runs and 121 RBIs in 146 games. Had a full year that year. Then on to 1954, I moved up 2 more levels to AAA, to Indianapolis, Indiana, the Indians of the American Association. Again, I hit .271, hit 38 home runs, and 116 RBIs in 149 games. Then I came back to the Indians again in 1955, and I had another good season, a .268 average with 30 homers and 104 RBIs in 150 games. I made my Major League debut on September the 10th, 1955 for the Cleveland Indians in Boston against the Red Sox. It was a Saturday afternoon game that we won. Cleveland won 10-7. I came into the game as a pinch runner for Dale Mitchell in the 7th inning. Mitchell had walked against Ellis Kinder of the Red Sox. A pitcher named Tom Hurd came into relief Kinder. Then I scored a run on a single to right field by Bob Lemon, the pitcher on our team. And there was also an error by the right fielder that allowed me to score. But there I scored my first Major League run in my first game. For that season, with Cleveland, I hit .444. Now it was only 9 at-bats. I hit 4 hits. Didn't hit any homers or RBIs. Only played 5 games. But that was my start in the majors. 1956, I started back in the minors again with San Diego, the Padres of the Pacific Coast League. That wasn't the Major League Padres. That was before the Padres came about. But I had a big year there, even though I only spent 35 games there. I hit .368, went off big time, and hit 12 home runs and 32 RBIs in only 35 games. Then I went to the major leagues to stay. I was with Cleveland through 1959, when I was traded to Detroit for Harvey Keene, Harvey Wallbanger. That was on April 17th, 1960. I was traded there. I made my Tigers debut on April 19th, 2 days later, on opening day against Cleveland, my old team, in Cleveland, at my old stomping grounds. And we won 4-2 in 15 innings. Unfortunately, I did go 0 for 6 with a walk and 4 strikeouts, hit the golden sombrero there. And I was caught stealing once. I faced Gary Bell from Cleveland, Mudcat Grant, and Bobby Tiefenauer in my Tigers debut game. I started the game in right field, batting 5th. Al Kaline, who was mostly known for being a right fielder for the Tigers back in those days, he played center field that day, so I could be in the starting lineup and right. I guess they didn't think I had enough speed to play center, so they let Kaline play center field. I stayed with the Tigers through 1963. My best game with the Tigers was also my longest game with the Tigers, June 24th, 1962, against the New York Yankees. We actually lost this game 9-7 in 22 innings, but I did get 7 hits. I was 7 for 10. I had 6 singles and 1 triple. Scored a run and had a walk. I played left field and batted 4th, clean up in the lineup. Played the whole game. I faced Bob Turley, starting pitcher for the Yankees. Then I faced Jim Coates, Bill Stafford, who I got 2 hits off of, including an RBI single to center field that scored Bill Bruton in the 6th inning off Stafford. Then I faced Tex Clevenger, got 2 hits off of him, including a triple. Unfortunately, I was stranded at third base, didn't score. Then I faced Bud Daly and got 1 hit off of him. And Jim Bouton, famous ball 4 pitcher, got 2 hits off of him. And in this Detroit Tigers book that I have here, it's kind of the Bible of the Tigers for their first 75 years or so. It was published in 1975, but it covers all the old timers like this guy here I'm talking about today. And on page 110 in this book, there is an account of this game, this long, long game. It says, June 24th, 1962. It was going to be a special day for the Aguirres. Hank and his wife, Barbara, and their 2 kids. The Tigers were playing a rare single Sunday game. He would be home early, maybe 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and they'd have a cookout in the backyard. As he left for the ballpark and kissed his wife goodbye, Aguirre told her to listen to the radio and get the Coles started when the game ended. That way they'd be just right when he got home. That night, Hank and Barbara Aguirre had a quiet midnight supper, as did almost everyone else on the Tigers and Yankees. They played 1 game to be sure, but it lasted 7 hours. It started at 1:30 in the afternoon and ended at 8:30 in the middle of Ed Sullivan's show. The Yankees finally won 9-7, but not before all the hot dogs had been consumed. The fans had 3 7-inning stretches, and umpire Bill McKinley's legs were aching from bending to clean off the plate. According to the dictate of the league, he had to walk to the front of the plate whenever he cleaned it off so as not to offer a fanny to the people in the stands. Along about the 5th hour, he said to Yogi Berra, the New York catcher, quote, "Would you not scuff dirt on the plate anymore?" Unquote. "Certainly," said Berra, scuffing dirt on the plate. McKinley shrugged. "Thank you. This time I will not brush it, since I've been here long enough to remember where it is." McKinley called over 600 pitches. 7 hours. A taxicab driver by the name of Barney Laurie betook himself to the ballpark at about 4:30, as was his custom on single-day games, such as on Saturdays. He figured the crowd would break at any moment. He waited 4 hours for his fare. A fan was listening to the game on a shortwave radio in Florida. He caught a plane to Detroit and saw the final 9 innings of the game. 7 hours. In the top of the 20th inning, Matt Dennis, a sports writer for the Windsor, Ontario Star, got up from his seat and announced, "I've got to leave." "Where are you going?" a colleague asked. "My visa just expired. 7 hours." They had to close the concession stands at 8:15 since, by Michigan law, women were not permitted to work more than 10 hours on a Sunday. By that time, the crowd of 35,638, or what was left of them, had consumed 32,200 hot dogs, 41,000 bottles of beer, and 34,500 bottles of pop. The Yankees used 21 of their 25 players, the Tigers 22 of 25. Whitey Ford, who was supposed to work for the Yankees the next day, charted the pitches and counted 316 of them for the Yankees. Jim Bouton threw 93, Marshall Bridges 3, Luis Arroyo warmed up 11 times in the bullpen. The mathematicians figured out that astronaut John Glenn could have made 3 orbits of the Earth by the 15th inning. They also figured out that Bob Turley, the Yankee starter who was knocked out in the first inning, could have grabbed a jet to New York, changed planes, and made it to Los Angeles before the game was over. Doc Fenkel, the public address announcer, made 61 orations and immediately claimed another record, 7 hours. One thing was certain, it was by far the longest game ever played in the major leagues. The previous record was 5 hours and 19 minutes by the Brooklyn Dodgers and Boston Braves on July 5, 1950. That one went 20 innings. The longest American League game had been 4 hours and 58 minutes by the Baltimore Orioles and Boston Red Sox on June 23, 1954. That went 17 innings. The Tigers and Yankees broke the Major League mark by 1 hour and 41 minutes, and the American League mark by 2 hours and 2 minutes. The marathon finally ended when a little-known outfielder named Jack Reed, he was known as Mickey Mantle's caddy, hit a 2-run homer off Phil Regan in the 22nd inning, breaking a 7-7 tie that had existed since the 6th inning. The Yankees won despite going 19 straight innings without a run. Reed got into the game around 5 o'clock, the 13th inning, when he replaced Phil Linz, who batted for Joe Pepitone, who relieved Mickey Mantle. Roger Maris worked Regan for a 1-out walk, and Reed followed with his home run into the left field seats. It was the first and only one of his career. I got 7 of 10 for the Tigers, and each time I went to the plate, I twitched and stretched, as was my style, and rolled the bat behind my shoulder blades. In the 22nd inning, Whitey Ford shouted up to me, "Loose yet?" But McKinley was the true hero of the day. He stood out there for the full 7 hours and never once left home plate, not even for a drink of water. That is some game right there. Now then, let's see here. Let's see. My last game with the Tigers was on September the 28th, 1963, in Baltimore, which was another loss for the Tigers, 8-6. The Orioles beat us that day. I was 0 for 4, had a walk and a caught stealing. In my last plate appearance for the Tigers, I grounded into a double play, third base to second base to first base against Dick Hall, pitcher for the Orioles. In my Tigers career, I hit .271 as a lifetime average with the Tigers, 139 home runs and 430 RBIs in 629 games. And I wore uniform number 7 for the Tigers. I was traded by the Tigers to the Kansas City Athletics with Bob Anderson and $50,000 for Jerry Lumpy, Ed Rackow, and Dave Wickersham on November the 18th, 1963. Then I was traded back to Cleveland as part of a 3-team trade involving the Kansas City A's and the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox sent Cam Carrion, father of the future Tiger Mark Carrion, to the Cleveland Indians. The White Sox sent a player to be named later, Mike Hirschberger, and Jim Landis to Kansas City. Cleveland sent Tommy Agee, future hero of the Mets in the '69 World Series, Tommy John, one of the longest career pitchers of all time, and John Romano, the catcher, to the White Sox. The White Sox sent Fred Talbot to the Kansas City A's on February the 10th, 1965, to complete the trade that was originally made on January the 20th, '65. Then I got traded back by Cleveland to Chicago White Sox for a player to be named later, and Jim King on July 29th, 1967. The White Sox sent Marv Staley to Cleveland to complete the trade. That was on October the 26th, 1967. I was purchased by the Los Angeles Dodgers from the White Sox on March 26, 1968, then released by the Dodgers on July 11, 1968. But 4 days later, I signed as a free agent with the New York Yankees, July 15th. I pitched for the New York Yankees on August 25th, 1968, against the Tigers, my old team, in the first game of doubleheader at New York, which we won 6-5. I relieved Steve Barber in the fourth inning, pitched 2 2/3 innings and allowed no runs, and only one hit. Al Kalon got a double off me to center field in the sixth inning. I walked 2 guys, Jim Price and Bill Freehan, 2 catchers. I struck out 1 guy, Dick Trusewski, a little shortstop who wound up being a base coach for the Tigers for dang near 25 years, I think. Over 20 for sure. I was relieved by Dooley Womack in the 7th inning on the mound, and I was the eventual winning pitcher in the game. My only other pitching appearance also came against the Tigers in the earlier part of my career, August 13th, 1958, in the second game of a doubleheader in Cleveland, which we lost at that time to the Tigers 3-2. This time I relieved Hoyt Wilhelm, the old knuckleballer, in the 7th inning. I pitched 3 innings and finished the game. I allowed no runs again, no hits. Walked 3 guys, Herb Mulford, the Tiger pitcher, Gale Harris, and Red Wilson, the catcher for the Tigers at the time. And I struck out 1 guy, Frank Bowling, second baseman, but I didn't get a decision in that one. My last Major League game came on September the 28th, 1968 for the Yankees against the Red Sox in Boston, the same site as I had my first Major League game at Fenway Park. This game was a 4-3, Yankees win. We won that one. I came in as a pinch hitter for Mel Stottlemyre, the pitcher, in the 7th inning and struck out swinging against Jim Lonborg. Lindy McDaniel pitched the rest of the game for the Yankees. I was released by the Yankees on September 30th, 1968, 2 days after my last game. My lifetime stats look like this: .266 batting average, 374 home runs, and 1,159 RBIs in 1,841 games over 14 seasons. After my playing career, just a few more things about my career here down here. As a little overview. I was a 9-time All-Star, 4 of those with the Tigers. There were 2 All-Star games per year in 1961 and 62. That's how I racked up so many All-Star games in so few years. I was the American League home run leader in 1959, the American League RBI leader in 1965. I hit 4 home runs in 1 game on June 10th, 1959 in Baltimore when I was with Cleveland, and we won 11-8 that game. I hit 1 homer off Jerry Walker, 2 homers off Arnie Porter Carrero, and 1 off Ernie Johnson. Ernie Johnson, the father of the basketball broadcaster Ernie Johnson, who's been around for quite a few years now. And I am a member of the Cleveland Guardians Hall of Fame, which I was named to in 2006. However, I'm not a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame so far. After my playing career, I was a TV broadcaster for the Cleveland Indians on WJW-TV in 1972. I was the first base coach for Cleveland in 1973. I was a broadcaster again in 1975, back on TV for Cleveland. And I did both. I was hitting coach and broadcaster in 1976, then first base coach in 77 and 78 for Cleveland. Moved over to Kansas City Royals in 1982 and 83 as their hitting coach. In 1982, with Royals manager Dick Hauser, I was involved in a traffic accident and a struggle with police. We were both convicted of interfering with police and received 90-day jail sentences, but we both appealed and we served 6 months probation. I was involved in the 1983 Pine Tar game involving George Brett and the New York Yankees. I was ejected for arguing the umpire's decision to negate Brett's home run and call him out. And now a little personal information about me. I married Carmen Parati, a professional dancer, in 1954. On August the 11th, 2015, the day after my 82nd birthday, I had my right leg amputated below the knee due to type 2 diabetes complications. I had suffered from that disease for several years by that time. I died from type 2 diabetes at home in Burnville, Pennsylvania on December the 10th, 2024, just last year, at the age of 91. Who am I? Did you all guess who I was by now? Rocky Colavito, one of the great Tigers of all time. Wasn't with them for too long, but certainly is well remembered. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little different type of video there that I just did. I will be doing more of these in the future. I'll be alternating now between these type of baseball or sports videos with Detroit players, according to what season it is. Now it's baseball season, so we're all about the Tigers. But before too long, it'll be football season, and then basketball and hockey. So we'll have to bring in some of those in not too long. And I'll also mix in some videos about classic TV and movie actors that I like. That's another one of my passions that I'm really into, so look forward to that. And of course, I'll still be doing those stories and a song videos that I've been doing for a few years now. Just not quite as many as I used to do, but I'll rotate around to them every once in a while. So I'll say thank you all for watching and listening, and hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye now.